Chapter 13. Teeming. The giant stared straight at Elle, who was hiding underneath the shelves. They froze, not knowing where to go or what to do. They had just escaped and thought they were safe, and there was no way they were going to go back into a glass jar to wait for their fate with the giant, whatever it was they were going to do with them. Elle looked around. There were bodies scattered around on the floor, from various jars that had also shattered when Elle escaped. They must have been caught in the action from Elle changing size. This, unfortunately, gave Anthea an idea.
Elle, lay down and stay still,
she said, poking her head out of their shirt. Elle looked at Anthea with a concerned expression, but they trusted her. Elle suddenly dropped to the ground, laying as still as possible. The giant continued to stare under the shelf, surveying the area. He reached for a nearby body, a large bear, and brought it up to their face. Realizing it wasn't Elle, they tossed it aside with a groan and stood up. The giant walked over to the cabinet and kicked it out of anger. Elle lay there, waiting for who knows what, when the giant stomped his way up the stairs, out of the basement, and into the house once again. Elle sighed and sat up. Anthea climbed up onto their shoulder, and they sat there, collecting themselves and their thoughts on what had just happened. They could hear the giant overhead stomping around and slamming various parts of the house. It was clear that he had had a temper and didn't enjoy losing one of his specimen. From the looks of it, he wasn't used to one of his creatures slipping between his fingers, as his collection was quite large. They may not have been able to escape out of the house, but they were at least able to escape the danger of the giant with their life. After catching their breath and convincing themselves that what had just happened, they decided to start exploring the area for an escape. They looked around the room. It was a mess. It wasn't in the best shape before they entered, and after what had just happened, it was in even more of a disaster. It was disturbing enough seeing the contents of the jars strewn about on the floor. The quicker they found a way out, the better. The stairs up to the main house were too tall to climb, and even then, the giant was lurking upstairs, which made it too large of a risk to go upwards. They decided to look around the basement floor for another exit. Perhaps with a little exploring, they could find a drain or vent to venture into that would lead them outside and away from this horrible place. Sticking to the walls, they surveyed the area when they stumbled upon a large crack in the wall underneath the cabinet the giant kept all of his tools in. Elle and Anthea looked at each other and shrugged. They had no other option. If their only other escape was up the stairs where the giant was, they would take a mysterious crack in the wall any day. So in they went. It was dark, which was expected considering they had just entered a wall of a basement. Anthea reached inside her bag and started to fumble around.
We can't continue if we can't see where we're going,
she said with her arm elbow deep in her bag. After a few seconds of searching while mumbling under her breath, she brought out what looked like a miniature sun connected to a piece of string. It bounced around like a helium balloon while Anthea climbed down Elle's arm and tied it to the wrist for safekeeping. It was no bigger than a golf ball, but it was brighter than any source of light Elle had seen before.
Just try not to stare directly at it,
Anthea said, winking at Elle, then scurrying back up their arm onto their shoulder. They smiled at each other and started off. When they looked straight ahead of them, with the light from Anthea's miniature sun now exposing everything behind the wall, they could see that it was teeming with hundreds of eyes, from creatures they didn't even know existed in the dark. They were staring at them, unblinkingly, and Elle slowly backed away, staring straight at them.